17 years old. Yeah, you heard me. That is how old Mortal Kombat Vs DC is. Like, this game came out in 2008, and it's already 17? Dang, time really does fly by when you're having fun. But in today's video, we're going to be reviewing Mortal Kombat Vs DC, and to see if it's really held up or not over the years. But before we get into today's video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But anyways, let's get right into it. Now, just for some history for the game, Mortal Kombat Vs DC was developed by Midway, and the game had been released for Xbox 360 and PS3. Well, while I say that, it is now compatible with Xbox One and Series X, so should we really count those two? Well, probably not, because it does say the platforms for this game are Xbox and PlayStation, so it's best if we stick with those. But also something you didn't know about this game is that it's actually a part of the Mortal Kombat series, and this is actually the 8th installment to the series. So, pretty cool history for the game. Okay, I know, this was a little short segment of the history behind this game, I know. But come on, man, I'm not trying to make this video 23 minutes. But when you first jump into the game, you will be able to see Scorpion and Batman in the main menu, and as well as some other options that you can click, like single player, which brings you to here, to which I will be talking about later. Then we have 2-player, which requires 2-player, obviously. Then we have Xbox Live, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't work anymore. And for the final 2, we have extras and options. And all that extras has to offer are some character bios, different endings for the game, and credits for the team that made this game. For the last thing on the main menu, we have options, which I'm pretty sure you can guess on how that works. Now, moving on to single player mode, what it has to offer is arcade mode, story mode, combo challenge mode, then finally we have practice mode. Now, for the arcade mode, it wasn't that bad. I mean, you'd get to pick any character you want, and you'd go up against 10 opponents. And once you've defeated all 10 opponents, you get a dedicated ending to the specific character you are. And I have to admit, this mode was pretty fun. I mean, it had a bit of a challenge to it, and I think the main reason it was just as fun was because of the combat. And I will be talking about that later in the video. Now on to combo challenge. And what you pretty much do in this mode is pretty much, well, you guessed it, practice combos. That's really it. I mean, nothing too special about it. Now, moving on to practice mode, and it's pretty much about, yep, again, you guessed it, practicing. I mean, you load up one of your characters and pick another fighter to fight you, and bam, that's it. You just practice. So, pretty cool mode. But anyways, now we're moving on to the story. The game starts us off in a destroyed-looking metropolis with Superman holding Darkseid in a choke up in the air. Now, it turns out that Darkseid had launched an invasion on Earth and had tried to take over Earth, but thankfully Superman was there and had defeated Darkseid. So, that's probably why Metropolis seems so destroyed. But shortly after, we throw down Metropolis right onto the ground, and it turns out we actually run into Lex Luthor. And all along, Lex Luthor was actually working with Darkseid all along, coming from Superman. But after this interaction, we see Darkseid leave Metropolis through some sort of portal. But with Superman's quick thinking, he ends up lasering Darkseid, and for some reason he gets attached to the portal and blows up with both Darkseid and the portal disappearing. But after this had happened, we take Lex Luthor with us, and it quickly cuts to Chapter 1, The Flash. Now, another cutscene plays showing some guy heading across town, but after a couple of seconds, it appears that someone ends up dropping to the ground and killing him. And you know who may that be? Well, it turns out it was Deathstroke that had killed that innocent man. But after he had killed him, Flash quickly appears, and that's when we first get into our first fight. Now, if I'm just being honest, the fighting was really fun. I liked how all of your moves that you would execute were all so smooth, and that the different abilities that you were able to do in this game. Like, with Flash especially, all of the fast and quick moves that he does is just so satisfying, and it's definitely a really good experience when you're playing this game. But after defeating Deathstroke, we end up getting a call from Wonder Woman saying that she needs us in Gotham. But just as we're about to leave, the player ends up seeing some sort of yellow glowing light coming out of Flash's eyes. But after that, he quickly recovers and starts heading to Gotham. After leaving Metropolis, we get another cutscene showing Catwoman hanging by a rooftop while holding some kind of valuable jewelry. After this, Flash appears in an instant telling Catwoman to give him the jewelry, and Catwoman retaliates by trying to escape, but obviously, since we're the Flash, she doesn't get that far. Then, Flash decides to say that he doesn't really get Catwoman, and how sometimes she can be a villain, and other times she can completely switch to the other side. But shortly after, this ends up starting our second fight of the game. Now, While fighting Catwoman, since I pretty much mastered the game's combat, I absolutely started destroying her in the first couple of seconds. Like, I felt like I was going to go pro, until she had completely humbled me, and I had felt like a fool once again. That is until I had an awesome comeback and again started demolishing her once again. Like, I did a combo on her, I tackled her through countless amount of walls, and before you knew it, I had yet again became victorious in this battle. Right after beating Catwoman, some completely other person decided to join the party by picking up the stolen jewelry and trying to take it. But you know Flash couldn't let that slide. So he ends up confronting this mysterious person, but out of nowhere, Flash gets the same yellow eyes that we saw earlier. But while that is all going on, Catwoman decides to take the stolen good from this unknown person and runs off with it. And that is until she goes into some mysterious portal. After this, Flash accuses that the unknown person had helped Catwoman escape with the stolen good. So as a result, the unknown man gets frustrated with Flash and tries to shoot him with his one laser eye. And since with a Flash, we easily dodge all of his attacks until the game puts us into another fight. Now, for some reason, this fight was probably one of the most easiest fights that I played in this game. Like in the first round, like last time, I ended up demolishing Kano with me comboing him while throwing him across the road. And like last time, tackling him through countless amount of walls. Like, I would go as far to say that this was probably easier than the Catwoman boss fight, since I had taken no damage on the first round and just a tiny bit on the last. But overall, I can confidently say that this was probably one of the most easiest fights of the whole game. But shortly after defeating Kano, we lift him up with one hand, and since we're under the influence of rage, we are almost about to kill him. That is until Batman decides to drop in and tries to negotiate with Flash, and that ultimately ends up working since we drop Kano and move on to fighting Batman. Now, when fighting Batman, it was definitely way more difficult. Like, I had at least gotten a few hits on him in the first round, but shortly after, I'd gotten defeated by Batman in the first round. But don't worry, I still have one more chance to actually beat him. And I ended up losing once again. But on my second attempt on this fight, and a few minor adjustments to my strategy, and wow, I cannot believe I'm actually coming up with a strategy on a 17-year-old game, I was finally able to beat him. But it turns out luck was not on my side, because for some reason, Flash decided to be a little stupid and had gotten cocky with Batman, and as a result, Batman decided to knock me out. Wow, Flash, you are an embarrassment. After this event, we get taken to our next chapter, Batman, and we end up taking the Flash to the Batcave so we can take a look at him. Now, after examining Flash and waking him up, Batman quickly asks why he was attacked by Flash, and Flash responds with him saying that he couldn't control himself and that he felt some sort of rage when he was fighting Kano and Batman. But after this, Flash's rage quickly comes back to him, but instead of making him just angry, he actually ends up changing into a whole entire new identity, Scorpion, instead of staying as Flash. Now at first, Scorpion seems confused and is convinced that Sub-Zero is wearing a costume to hide his identity, but in reality, he's just looking at Batman. But this is when we actually get jumped into our first combat section as Batman. Now, when fighting Scorpion, I was expecting this fight to be much harder, but it turns out that it was relatively easy. Like, I was landing all of my punches and combos and throwing him into computer screens and beating him up in the air. Like, all of it was really easy. I mean, Scorpion did get some hits on me, but not enough to actually knock me out. But overall, I ended up beating Scorpion with no problem. Well guys, sorry to end it short, but really, like I said, I'm not trying to make this video 23 minutes, but anyways, all jokes aside, here's the one question that we've been all waiting for. Is Mortal Kombat vs DC still worth it in 2025? Well, that's gonna be a yes. Like, the overall story to the mechanics, all the way to the combat, is just amazing for a game that was released in 2009. And I would seriously recommend it to someone that's never played an Injustice game or an Injustice 2 game. Like, seriously, it's really good. But that's gonna be it for today's video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!
We'll kill you for this, Batman.